Hello, and welcome to another episode of the CBL Changeup. Mark Pare alongside Dan Dominguez. We are a third away through the CBL 2026 campaign. It feels just like yesterday. We were at Mother's Day. Well, we just passed Father's Day. It is the day of recording because we got a busy slate, so we are recording this on Sunday night. So if you're wondering where the Kitchener-Welland result was on Monday nights, we haven't seen it yet. And in fact, I don't think we've really seen everything that Sunday has had to offer. Oh, all the games have actually finished for the day, so we get all of Sunday, but none of Monday. Here we are. And Dan, the third of the way through the season, and some themes are starting to emerge. And I've seen a lot of it in Kitchener over the last couple of weeks, but it seems like it's been a widespread thing across the CBL. Runs, and more runs.
The pitchers
Is
are
Yeah,
their ERAs are taking a beating. There's no two ways about it. Scoring is up 14.2 runs per game average. That's 2 runs higher than last year per game. Home runs are up 2.8 per game, up from 2 a game. The ball is flying. We're seeing guys, even when they're getting on base, they're stealing. Stolen bases are up. So I don't know. The hitters got better. The pitchers got worse. All the above. I don't know.
it's a head scratcher, really. I mean, do you say, the pitching just they can't find their spots, or is it just the upgrading in hitters? But it really is just one of those things that I'm marveling at, quite frankly, over the last couple of weeks, especially. Um, but I'll go back to that Thursday game in Kitchener. Football score. Let's just put it
CFL's
that
in
way.
CFL season.
Yeah, the 23 runs for Kitchener, the first time they've put 23 runs up on the board in 9 seasons. And even even then, you were still wondering if Brantford was going to come back because of a big ninth inning that the Red Sox had. Everybody in the booth and everybody at the ballpark were wondering, can they actually do this? Because Brett Reed comes in, he gets shelled for 8 runs on the 8th batter. Every batter that he faced crossed the plate. There was nobody out in the ninth before Jake Liberta came in and shut things down. But yeah, I was at a loss for words from that Kitchener game, to say the very least.
Yeah, it's been crazy. They said there's no real rhyme or reason that we can see. We signed a lot of new hitters into the CBL from various leagues after once we've gone pro, but we thought we had some good quality pitchers coming in too. But even guys, we saw Owen Boone the other night get hit. You mentioned Brett Reed. Brett Reed was my player of the week about a month ago. And you can go up and down the list. Garces had only 1 inning pitched and gave up 3 runs. So nobody is immune. Even the studs are getting hit.
And one of the themes that I take away from that Kitchener Brantford game is that this is the reason why you play through. Even if you're getting blown out by about a dozen or more runs, I really feel like Brantford set the tone in that ninth inning to think, hey, we need to gain some momentum going into the next night. And sure enough, they really did that. They picked up some momentum in that ninth inning and turned it into their first win over the Welland Jackfish since 2021.
2-2. Here comes the pitch. Yes, he did. Strike 3, and the Brantford Red Sox have slayed the Giants. They have beaten the Welland Jackfish 6-2 on a Friday night at Arnold Anderson.
Yeah, that's it. It is a big win for Brantford. Obviously, get that monkey off their back against one of the top teams in the league, the Welland Jackfish. I was watching that game. We were chatting on the CBL Changeup chat, thinking the comeback it's just a matter of not if, but when. But Brantford did a good job to hold them down. Ended up 6-2. So congratulations to them for, like I said, taking down the Jackfish.
Does this speak to the parity that this league has? Because it does seem like, and I think you've alluded to this in previous episodes, that really anybody can beat anybody.
Well, it's definitely true, but it still does feel like there's two classes of teams this year in the CBL. The top four with Hamilton, London, Barrie, and Welland, and then the rest of the five. Guelph hasn't decided which group they want to be in yet. Are they good enough to be in the top group? They haven't proven that, but they've also proven maybe they're the top team of that second class of teams. They're not all the way down to your Toronto's and Brantford's, but they seem to be the class of the second tier.
Yeah, they're almost like a Jekyll and Hyde, but Guelph, as of late, have been red hot. Their hot streak ends up getting snapped against Welland on Sunday. Previous to that, winners of 5 straight games. But in those games, the majority of them, they were playing the comeback kids role. I mean, they were down heavy against Hamilton, down heavy against Chad and Kent, but again, stuck with it. And in fact, in that game against Hamilton, 10 runs in the ninth inning en route to the win. And yeah, it's one of those things where I think Guelph is still trying to figure out how to get a lead early and sustain it rather than having to play from behind for the majority of the game.
Yeah, the key to the CBL is get to those bullpens. Guelph hung around just long enough to get to teams' bullpens. Hamilton had a tough time of it. Their bullpen has been one of the better ones, but obviously giving up a 10 spot in the ninth wasn't the case. But looking throughout the league, starting pitchers ERAs so far through the year, 5.32, reliever ERAs 6.91, so a full run and a half plus higher once you get to those bullpens. So like you said, these leads they're not insurmountable. They can come back.
And ironically, on the other side of it, I was looking at that stat earlier on today. Barrie is the opposite. Their reliever ERA is better than their starting ERA.
And looking quickly, they're the only team in the league that can boast that. Everyone else has relief pitchers that are higher. So yeah, Carlos Sano and the rest of the gang are doing a job, and that's why you see Barrie where they're at in the standings.
Yeah, I mean, they, as well as London, it feels like they are the class of the league, with a couple of teams not too far behind. Let's go into another storyline that really emerged this week: ejections galore. I mean, we saw it quite a bit with Barrie, including the game that I was calling today, or rather Sunday, with Kitchener and Barrie, but Hamilton wasn't immune to the ejections as well.
Yeah, well, as the season goes on, you said we're a third of the way through. The temperature in the air gets a little hotter, and sometimes some of these pitchers get a little bit hotter under the collar, as we saw with Hector Yan the other night. Hamilton, I want to say it was Feliz was their second ejection. So, and you said it was Saul Vasquez in your game getting the heave ho, plus a couple out in Barrie as well. So, yeah, with all these runs scored, some of these pitchers, I mean, they just enough is enough sometimes, and they say the magic word that gets them a quick shower.
Yeah, and I mean Adam Odd was ejected on Saturday, and he was actually suspended for the Sunday game against Kitchener. I believe it's just a one gamer, but they had to edit their scorecard. Barry found out Sunday morning that Adam Odd would not be available to them, but surely that it didn't seem like that mattered based on the score line they ended up putting up.
Sure, and then we'll have to keep an eye. You are more witness to the Saul Vasquez one, and Frank Garces sounds like had a little bit of sticky stuff on the glove. So we'll see if there's any follow-up suspensions in the CBL in the upcoming days.
When you take a look around the rest of the league, on Saturday, Guelph was supposed to play Toronto. They got two batters in. Yasiel Puig was up to bat before everybody gets pulled off the field because the rain came heavy and it came very quick. There was, you know, a bunch of clouds in the sky, yes, and it looked like rain clouds, but it didn't seem like anything was coming down. And then Surely, just as the umpires collected the scorecards and "O Canada" was just sung, the rain came down. It looked like a small pocket of rain, so it seemed like it was going to pass pretty quickly, but it stuck around. And they tried to play through it, and the Guelph, you could hear the Guelph dugout screaming out to the umpires on the field to tell them, "Hey, why are we playing in this?" Because the rain just came down and it was relentless. The ball started slipping out of the hand of Alfred Vega, and the second at bat ended up being a walk, and I believe ball four. You could tell, in a sense, that the ball started slipping out of the hand because of the rain, and I think that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back in that one. And everybody got pulled off, and just in few minutes, really, the infield just drenched, pockets of water, pools of water, and they had to call it off.
Yeah, this isn't the MLB. We don't have the stadiums that drain like they do in the 30 MLB parks. We're not changing baseballs after 2 pitches like they do in the MLB. So, and we also don't have tarps that cover most stadiums that have just the mound and home plate for the most part. Maybe some might have some of the bases, but yeah, we can't play through that. It's too dangerous, and the fans aren't going to sit through that regardless.
And this kind of brings back to something that I said on an episode a few weeks back. The infield tarps. I feel like this needs to happen, really. I mean, I don't know if it was going to save the game in Guelph on Saturday, but when I saw that and I saw the pockets of rain that basically enveloped that infield, if you have an infield tarp, you might be able to give it a little bit more of a chance. But with the way the rain did come down with that small pocket, I don't think you could have saved everything else. But at the very least, you have a little bit more protection for that infield, because that infield was, yeah, no bueno. You could not play on that whatsoever, even if you wanted to try. You would have to bring mounds of sand just to get that dried out.
Yeah, it's tough because these are a lot of city parks. Who's going to pay for that? Is it going to be the team, the town, the league? I mean, this is a league that's still trying to keep the costs at a reasonable level. If we are going to invest a lot of money, I would still rather invest in better cameras, better equipment for the broadcast crew. I'm sure you can get on your soapbox for that.
Oh yeah.
To give just a better quality of viewer for the viewer at home.
Well, as I take a look around the rest of the league, some barn burning matchups, a lot of high scoring, as we've touched on before. When you take a look at the Barry Bay Cats, and again, I got to see them up close and personal on the Sunday. But previous to that, they have a heck of what was supposed to be a headline matchup against the London Majors, and Barry really shut them down. I kind of asked the question last week, who's better, Barry or London? We got some differing results. After that game on Saturday, have we found a decisive who's number one in this league right now?
Well, in my personal rankings, I kind of do my own weekly rankings. I don't really bother with the CBL one too much, but for 4 straight weeks now, I have Barry as my number one. So not only are they just number one, they're hanging on to number one. So I'll stick with them until we'll have to wait for that next London Barry matchup. I don't have that in front of me. I know London has taken them the 2 games they've played, but overall, I'm still going to stick with Barry as my 1 seed right now.
Well, and you alluded to it. I mean, Frank Garza is getting caught with a bit of sticky stuff on this Saturday. If he goes through that entire game, remember that ejection comes after just 1 inning pitched. Maybe that 13-run scoreline for London is, dropped down quite a bit if Frank Garces gets to pitch the full game.
Yeah, he did give up 3 runs in that 1 inning. So if he had the sticky stuff, I don't know, maybe he wasn't using it right because it didn't work in that first inning. So, and I haven't talked to anyone in Barry to see if it was someone on the London bench, the umpires who brought it to someone's attention. The umpires aren't really checking the players as they come off. So somebody obviously saw something and spoke up. So it sounded like it was a pine tar from what I've been told, but I haven't heard anything absolutely official.
Well, and you take a look at London in those two games that they've played, previous to Sunday, three three double-digit score lines. They score 19 on Kitchener at home. They score 13 on the road in Barrie, and then, just to kind of finish it off on the Sunday, they post a 10 spot on the Brantford Red Sox on the Sunday at home. That's a potent offense that they seem like they're doing it by committee as well.
Oh yeah, London's got a great team, four left-handed starting pitchers. So they're, I mean, we were unsure at the beginning of the season. By the numbers, I thought they might be good, but as Braeden alluded to, these guys had to come together and gel because there was only a handful of guys in that core. Your Janice, Keys, and Payano, and a couple of the other guys, Diolio. So obviously, the leaders of that team plus the Roop, the manager, has brought that team together, and they're as good as there is right now.
Taking a look at the team that you follow closely, the Chatham Kent Barnstormers, Dan, they're getting some mixed results as of late. Losing to Guelph on the 16th on the Tuesday. They lose again to Welland on the road on the Thursday. They end up picking up the win on Saturday against Hamilton and then ultimately lose against Hamilton on Sunday. So kind of a mixed bag of results there, and a mixed bag of runs. And I think about, the way this team kind of came out of the gates. What's kind of happened in Chatham Kent where these results, they're not going as well as they it seemed like they were getting in the previous few weeks of the season.
Yeah, in the preseason talk we had with Chatham Kent and Dom, we talked about how this is still the youngest team in the league. They can definitely put some runs on the board, but the young team seems like they're having trouble. If it's a horse race, they're coming out of the gate strong, but they're just fading down the stretch. Can't get that that last quarter of the race in, and that's what they've had some issues with the bullpen. They've had some issues with the defense. Defense cost them 2 games for sure. The bullpen, maybe another one with the Guelph walk-off. So that's 3-game swing. If you give them 3 more wins, we're having a totally different conversation. But again, a young team. That bullpen is trying to get better. Dylan Kintz had an outstanding performance the other day. 3 innings of shutout ball down the stretch against Hamilton to secure that 7-6 win. The spin really giving Hamilton fits in that one. But again, you talked about the Jekyll and Hyde with Guelph. I think you can put Chatham Kent in that boat too, because they haven't been able to find a solid 4 rotation, and they're still kind of trying to figure out that bullpen, still missing one of the Dominican pitchers they had signed that's still not in town. So again, a young team that's still kind of trying to find their way this year.
Well, we're a third of the way into the season now. You know, do you feel like the majority of teams have started to figure that kind of stuff out already?
Regarding the spins, like how to
Uh, th-
handle.
how to handle like their 4-man rotation, like just
Sure.
trying to get used to the everyday life now that of being a professional league, and just kind of the workload that comes along with it.
Yeah, no, I think it's coming around. In Chatham Kent's case, they've had their 3 starters. Thibaut McCartier has been struggling as of late. Came in as a reliever today. Aiden Ryan kind of got an audition for maybe that 4th starter and did pretty well. Again, the defense cost them a couple runs, so it wasn't all on Aiden. So they did that. And one thing I noticed with Hamilton, probably the best job I saw from Luis Bernardo, really managing his lefties and righties out of the bullpen. So he's got his rotation with Jan and Adamas and Boone, and I'm probably missing one, but he's got his starters, but he was really playing the lefty-righty matchup game really well. Chatham got their 7 runs early. It was 7-6 in the fifth inning, and there was no scoring the rest of the game. So both managers did a good job with their bullpens, pulling the right strings at the right time. It just Chatham Kent was able to just hang on by a thread in that one.
Yeah, it's a third of the way through the year now, and you take a look at the standings, like you mentioned, Barrie, London, Welland, Guelph, and Hamilton. They are in playoff positions at this stage. But that separation, it's a 3-game separation coming out of Sunday's games between fifth place Hamilton and sixth place Chatham Kent. You can even throw Kitchener in there. Both Chatham Kent and Kitchener sitting with a 6-11 record. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, for all the talk that we had with Yasiel Puig and just the impact that he could have on a lineup there, just the 3 wins on the season. Are you surprised to see the Leafs? Because I know we even had the Leafs in bottom spots in our preseason rankings. But the fact that they're still in last place, is this kind of a shock to you, or?
Yeah, they were. I'm going to put my hand up. I had them as a dark horse. I didn't have them making the playoffs, but we kind of did our bold prediction episode, and I said that if Yasiel Puig plays 40 plus games, that they had a chance for that 5 spot, and obviously that doesn't look to be the case. We thought they would have some pitching trouble, and they have a team ERA of 8.28. They have a WHIP of over 2, which is not good at all. But through 14 games, they've only scored 55 runs. And in CBL scoring, I mentioned earlier, 14 runs a game. If they're only scoring 3 or 4 runs a game, that means the other team's scoring 10, and you're not going to win those. So again, I thought that offense would be a little bit more potent, and thus far it hasn't.
Again, a third through the way, still 2/3 of the pie left to round out the July portion of the schedule. I'm sure things are going to start picking up in July as well, with more players coming into the league and more tinkering of lineups, if you will, because it's still about a month for the transaction deadline, and I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be looking for some players to have that late season surge.
Yeah, we've been already seeing that movement. If you keep an eye on the CBL transaction wire, there's been some releases, some guys off to a slow start. There should be another one I heard about coming up yet that's not quite official from one of the better teams in the league that he's been starting every game, and it sounds like might be done. So we'll see on that one. But this is now a pro league. If you don't produce, they're going to find someone to produce.
I'll tell you some guys that have been producing. Let's get into our player and pitcher of the week. I'll start, and I have to start with Anthony Gilbert of the Guelph Royals. I've been singing his praises for the last couple of weeks. Let's just make it official here. A 571 average in the games over the past 6 days, 8 for 14, a home run, 10 RBI, and he has been a workhorse and has been, a spark plug for this Royals team that, again, falling behind early and just finding ways to win in late inning situations. And Anthony Gilbert's been a big portion of that. The Mary Bay Cats, Saul Vasquez, I just got to see him today. Before the ejection, was putting on some pretty good numbers. I mean, yes, he gives up the 3 home runs, but those are the only runs he gave up. He made a relief appearance a couple of days prior. Goes 7 innings altogether in those 2 appearances, 7 hits, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts. And in that Sunday appearance, in those 6 innings that he pitched, he gets 9 strikeouts. And Kitchener, yes, they're getting a couple of hits on him, but he's finding ways to get out of jams and really provided some really good stout pitching while Barry was doing it with the sticks.
Yeah, no, Vasquez is a solid pitcher. I've seen him a couple times now. And then I've noticed that you can talk about Frank and some of the other more veteran pitchers in this league. They find a way. They're professional pitchers, where you see some of these younger 26 and under pitchers are still kind of learning how to do it. And if Frank Garces and guys like Saul now first year, those are the guys to watch to learn how to be a professional pitcher.
Absolutely. Dan, what do you got this week?
Sure. My hitter of the week is Welland Jackfish, Ethan Mann. In 4 games, he was 10 for 18 with 6 runs, 4 extra base hits, including 2 homers, 11 RBIs, including a stolen base and an OPS of over 1,600. So a big week for Welland. I think they were 3-1 on the week. Yes, they were. So definitely a big factor in the 3 Welland victories this week. My pitcher of the week is from the Barrie Baycats, Juan Benitez. 150 ERA with a .67 whip. He got the victory in 6 innings of work. Only struck out a couple, but that Barrie defense at times had been shaky, but played well behind them that day and got the victory. So Juan Benitez and Ethan Mann are my player and pitcher of the week.
Some good selections. Is Barrie getting a whole lot of love with their pitching in a season, in a week, really, that pitchers just not
No.
receiving much love whatsoever.
Yeah, it was a little bit tougher this week to find one because you usually go and you look for Payano and Boone and some of those, and Garces and those names, and not everyone had a great week in that case. So we had to dig a little deeper for our pitchers of the week. Hitters of the week, where it's probably pretty easy. We probably could have chosen 10 names.
Yeah, everybody is getting it done, and like you said, scoring is up, and if you like offense, you got it with the Canadian Baseball League. Taking a look at the week to come, I am keeping an eye on that Kitchener Hamilton matchup on Friday in Hamilton, and I'll tell you why. The games that they played at Jack Couch Park, completely one-sided. Hamilton was smoking the ball, 12 home runs in 2 games. But in the only other game that they played in Hamilton, Kitchener won. And I'm very curious to see if the is it just a reason of Hamilton picking it up on offense? Is it the ballpark that they were playing in that's the reason for the offense? And can Kitchener rebound? There's a lot of intrigue in that matchup, if I do say so myself. So my game of the week coming up is Kitchener in Hamilton on Friday night.
Okay. Mine is, I'm going to go all the way to Sunday. Again, Hamilton being involved. Hamilton at London, 4:05 Sunday at Labatt Park. Like you say, you don't know what Hamilton team you're going to get from day to day. So London's going to be able to throw, and they throw out a lot of good starting pitching. Hamilton does as well. So both teams deep offensively, deep on the pitching. We haven't seen London go through any funks yet this year. Hamilton, I think, just broke a 3-game losing streak, if I'm not mistaken, today, getting back on the win column. So that'll be my game of the week for the upcoming week.
Some good matchups. And again, if you like scoring, you come to the right place. If you want CBL information and everything about the Canadian Baseball League, you've picked the right place here with the CBL Changeup. Until next time, he's Dan. I'm Mark. This has been another episode of the CBL Changeup.